clicker as well. We are now live, I'm being shown, so welcome. Thank you all for attending today's event, the subject of which is very, very dear to my heart. The timing of this event was really intriguing for me. I think we had an email on Monday, a quick meeting on Tuesday. Here we are on Wednesday. I just hope I haven't peaked too early, as we've still got Thursday and Friday to go. So let's see how we get on. We've got an action-packed agenda. We're really, really lucky in Exeter. The work that I do oversees around 950 businesses across the city and beyond. And we are blessed with some absolutely exceptional people who support businesses such as yourself to solve that particular challenge. So this morning we're going to have a number of presentations. Rosie Bates from Exeter City Council is going to be joining us in terms of looking at the overview of the skills in the region and the work that we're doing in terms of supporting businesses to fill that pipeline. We've got Tor Walton from the University of Exeter. She's going to take us through the new world of degree apprenticeships and the success that has become since 2017. We're then going to do some Q&As, so please get those ready. We'll make sure that we support you in getting those questions answered, and I'll make sure that those that want to ask those questions, if you can raise your hand, we'll include you and get those questions responded to. In your agenda, there's something there which says we have a break. Don't be fooled. There will be work to be done. So we're going to take the opportunity in the break really for a bit of work, and you'll find post-it notes on your tables there to look at how the businesses need support in terms of future talent, and how we can retain that talent in the region, which I know we're very, very passionate about, is ensuring we don't see that drain up the M5 corridor. Further to that, we have Stephen Mariadis, who's coming in from the Institute of Technology, who's going to talk about the exciting times and the benefits the Institute of Technology will bring across the region. And then we have Piers Caulfield from Dashboard. So first time I met Piers, probably around 5 minutes ago. Really intriguing story about that particular business, where they've come from, and their exceptional work in terms of growing their talent pipeline. And then finally, we have Chrissy Hillier. Chrissy's local to the region, huge amount of work down in Paignton in terms of developing their talent pipeline, and she's going to talk about some of the challenges that they face and how they're going to overcome those. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Rosie Bates, Skills and Business Manager from Exeter City Council. No day currently seems to go by without me introducing Rosie at some point or another, so I think for the 9th day on the trot, working day, I hasten to add. Here's Rosie.
Good morning, everyone. I did write on here, thank you, Mike, for the introduction, I think, and I'm actually sure that does ring true now. I did refer to him at home last night as my work husband, and it is true, we're doing so much collaboratively across the city, which is really great in terms of how we're supporting businesses from the City Council's perspective, so it's all good, it's not a bad word to say. Yes, I'm the Skills and Business Manager at Exeter City Council. I have a responsibility to focus on the skills needs across the city, so both from our resident perspective but also from our businesses perspective. So we have a huge incoming population that come to the city to work every day, and that's about seeing how we can support our businesses to make sure they have the right talent for the skills that they need and the jobs that they're going to need now and in the future. We're doing lots to support the workforce, particularly in terms of how we are engaging education and supporting our young people. And a good example that some of you might have heard about is the Building Greater Exeter Initiative that we're running to support the construction sector. So particularly focusing on engaging, inspiring that workforce of the future, supporting people into jobs, and making sure that we're driving that social value through the projects that we're delivering. And we're going to look at how we can extend that across other sectors and other work that we do. I was asked by the team at ExIST to come and speak this morning, really to give an overview of some of the key things happening around education and skills across Exeter and the slightly wider region, just to put some of those things into context for people. Try and break down some of those barriers, some of those acronyms that we all talk about when we work in that sector and we know things inside out, and hopefully give you some thought to take away on how you might move some things forward in terms of recruitment and retention. It's National Apprenticeship Week, so I think most people, if you're active on social media, will have picked up that that is the case. So particularly great to have Mike and some of his team here who can talk to you more about apprenticeship programmes and how important they really are to driving forward skills and social mobility across the city. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. So I just wanted to give a few key highlights in terms of what the profile around Exeter looks like in terms of our people and our skills. So it won't take a lot of people to look at that and see that we do have a population of over 130,000. Only 70 and just under 75,000 of those are actually economically active, but we have 110,000 jobs in the city. So yes, you know, our job density, lovely way of framing the stat, is 1.23 jobs. So we have more jobs than people. So hence we see a lot of people coming into the city on a daily basis, commuting in to come and work in those roles that we have available. Of those 4,000 or so businesses, the majority are really small. So we have those challenges in terms of how do they engage, you know, how do they support people coming into the business, all of those things that go with running that small business. Just picking out some highlights, particularly in relation to the STEM area, because that's what ExIST is all about. There are about 12,500 STEM jobs, so that's pulling from occupational areas that cover science and technical information and communication, so a good percentage of jobs. And that, in line with the digital stat there, we are seeing a huge increase in those types of jobs, in those types of sectors across the city. So we know that STEM business is really growing and flourishing here, so we need to make sure that we are growing that talent, that we are raising aspiration within our schools to make sure that our young people, educators, influencers, parents have a really good understanding of what those things will look like here in the city now and in the future. When we looked at some of the evidence about 12 months ago, we could see that self-employment has actually risen massively across the city, and it left us sort of scratching our heads slightly for a bit. We can't quite unpick whether self-employment is on the rise through the gig economy. Is everyone out there delivering things, people, food, that sort of thing, or actually have we got real entrepreneurship showing people going out there working for themselves and actually engaging in different types of business? Any thoughts people have, I'm happy to take that feedback. But what's really encouraging in the most recent stats that have come out is that we're seeing average earnings across the city are actually increasing for the workforce. So it's great to see that Exeter is really keeping pace nationally. So being able to offer really good salaries is one of the great things we can have here in terms of actually attracting people to the region. So one of the things that I'm asked quite regularly is, Rosie, I don't get it. What's key stage 2, 3, 4? What's the level in a qualification? How does this all fit? What does it mean for that age group of young people? So hopefully, this is the first time I've shown this anywhere, so I'm really willing to take feedback from anyone who can tell me if this does or doesn't hit the mark for you in terms of explaining that. But just to show you how that journey works in terms of education. So from primary, so key stages 1 and 2, through to secondary, so key stage 3 and 4, where our young people will study at level 1 and level 2. So most commonly GCSEs in there mapping across, so those GCSEs on the old grading, A star to C, at level 2. We now have a numbered way of assessing those GCSEs, with 9 being the highest grade, just to give you something else to think about when you're looking at what young people have achieved. Then from GCSEs, moving on into further education or sixth form. So from a city perspective, out of our 5 secondary schools in the city, none of them have sixth form. When we go outside of the city boundary, you will find that there are secondary schools that do have sixth form offering those further education programmes. But from a city perspective, that further education provision coming through Exeter College. That will be where study will be around A levels, B-Techs, which people might have heard, and then something else, the new kid on the block that's coming around T-levels, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. What's important to note there is that apprenticeships, they come into play post-16 and run now from level 2 to level 7. I'm not going to steal anyone else's thunder that's going to talk a bit more about those things, but really important that apprenticeships now have a huge amount of breadth and opportunity. And then, of course, higher education there, so post-18, levels 4 to 8. So hopefully that sets some of that in context. I'm really happy to take feedback on where some of that fits. A plug for Steve coming later is that when he talks about the Institute of Technology, that comes into play from the further education stage onwards. So lots of new things, but lots of really great opportunity for our businesses to start engaging with education at all levels and start supporting young people and everyone who wants to engage on one of those things. So how can you actually engage with education? So I've picked out some key things that we work with that we know work really well from a STEM perspective. Some of these are a little bit more generic, but I wanted to give those of you working in STEM businesses a kind of a good idea of some of those things that would work for you particularly. So this really will just scratch the surface in terms of those things that are out there that you can get involved in and that are really great for you to start working with young people from that primary stage, start developing relationships with schools, with those young people, identifying those that actually could be progressing into your workplace at age 16 or age 18. So, I just want to give you some of the highlights. So, the Heart of the Southwest Careers Hub. So this is an initiative that's been running across the local enterprise partnership region now for about 4 or 5 years. A plug for Nikki, who's at the back, who will be able to talk to you in a lot more detail. But the Careers Hub works on a one-to-one basis with schools, puts in a business person as a strategic advisor to support schools with their career strategy, to help them work towards the Gatsby benchmarks, which they now have to do. And can look at how that school can really make the most of engaging with different types of initiatives and different business people from across the region. If becoming a strategic advisor in a school is probably a scary step and one thing too far, there's also the Give an Hour campaign. So this is run through the Careers Hub. It is as simple as saying, I would love to go into a school and work with them for an hour and work with a group of young people. And that could be doing an activity, an assembly, all sorts of things. So please do talk to Nikki more about how you can get involved in those things. And the next plug for the back of the room, Sam's here from the STEM Ambassador Programme. So does what it says on the tin really. Those of you working in STEM, if you're not already signed up to be a STEM Ambassador, great opportunity to engage from primary school right the way through to further education. The hub coordinate a lot of the activities, so the schools request of them. They will give you training and support to be able to go in and support those schools and work with those young people and deliver those activities. They also are responsible for running the Big Bang. Can I? Everybody heard of the Big Bang Fair? A few hands, a few nods. So the Big Bang is a national programme. So the national finals will be coming up in Birmingham in the middle of March. And we are really pleased to say that actually St Peter's School from Exeter will be in those national finals for Young Scientist of the Year. So really great if we can support them to get through and win that national accolade. So the Big Bang will happen at West Point, 16th and 17th of June. Really great opportunity to put you in front of thousands of young people from across the region and promote what you can do. This is where I get lost in my acronyms myself, but the EDT run a load of programmes in schools, so they do Go for Set programmes, supporting different challenges and different competitions, so worth engaging with them. In terms of really simple things to get engaged in, who doesn't love a bit of Lego? So Lego clubs with our primary schools to really keep that inspiration going, get young people thinking about, building, designing, that sort of thing. Code clubs, always looking for volunteers to go in and support schools working on code clubs. And then we've got some opportunities to support students coming out into your businesses. So through Nuffield Research Placements, the Interscience programme, T-levels that will require over 300 hours of work placement over 2 years for a young person. But what a great way to see whether that person will fit within your business and be a great asset to you in the future. So really worth talking to the college and engaging with them over that programme. Work experience, so every school is always looking for opportunities to get their year 10s out into the world of work for a week or so. Please do think about engaging with it. We can support you with how you can make that work really well for you. And then a bit of a plug, those extracurricular things. So we are going to be really lucky to have the Teens in AI hackathon held here in Exeter on the 14th and 15th of March. And Chris from Nexus, who is taking this on as a voluntary role, is bringing what is a global event to the city. So some really good opportunities to get involved outside of that education system, but to really inspire and engage those young people. I mentioned apprenticeships, I won't talk too much about it, but really important to actually recognise that there's huge breadth and opportunity, levels 2 through to level 7, all sorts of different occupations, different job roles, different opportunities that you can offer to young people through an apprenticeship programme. And I really would encourage you to talk to Mike and his team and other training providers about what that opportunity could look like for you in your business. A really, really great opportunity. So Joe from the university is here at the back again, but the university offers some really great schemes to support you to take on young people through the university into your business. So just to highlight some of the things on here, so, and I can speak from experience in previous roles where we've employed graduates through the business partnership scheme, gives us a really great opportunity to take that young person who's finished their degree on into the business, give them an opportunity to really experience the world of work, use their skills, their knowledge, their experience to support us in taking projects forward. We've also used the Professional Pathways programme, so really great in terms of a young person coming to us having had a great amount of background works and skills workshops, other things within the university. Coming into the business for a week, giving them a project has worked really, really well for us. And a whole range of different pathways that are now being offered, including data analytics in there as well. So a really good opportunity to engage with the university. But actually, you know, there's nothing quite like hearing it. So a couple of nice quotes from local businesses there, just in terms of how much engaging with the university on some of their programmes, taking an intern, has really supported them. And we hear from businesses all the time that actually having that young person with some new ideas coming into their business is really good for them. It sort of shakes up some of their thinking about what they were doing or what might be possible for them to do in the future to move things forward. So please talk to Jo about how she can support your business with engaging with the university and all of the different departments there and the different programmes that they're able to run and offer you. I'm nearly there. Just some other opportunities. So some things to acknowledge. We have a digital skills partnership that's running across the local enterprise partnership area. So some of you will probably have met Charlotte Collier. So she is coordinating a huge range of activity across the region. She's out in schools all the time. She's looking for businesses to get out into schools all the time and to really encourage people to think about those careers in digital and data. So please do get engaged. They're running programmes as well to support people who are already in work. So again, a good opportunity there. I really won't steal Stephen's thunder. He's going to talk about the Institute of Technology, but I would really encourage everyone in the room to get involved. There's going to be some great opportunities there in terms of skilling our young people, but ongoing professional development as part of what that offer will be. And then finally, the National Retraining Scheme. So this is a really good opportunity for people already in work, but that don't have a degree and that aren't earning over a certain threshold to actually engage in further continuing professional development. The heart of the Southwest is one of a few regions in the country rolling this out at the moment. But this really, if you want to develop staff or if you want to work to support career changes, so on a national basis, particularly looking at people in roles that are at risk from automation and from those kind of changes in our sectoral makeup. So some really good opportunities for people out there engaging in everything that we're doing. And just one last thing, I was asked to give the challenge of the whole so what, and this will come up as part of the questions and part of the break. What we're going to do is hand out to you some cards around a skills pledge. There are lots of things for everyone to get involved in, and what we really want is for everyone in the room to commit to doing something before they leave today, whether that's give an hour, whether it's as a STEM ambassador, or whether it's to talk to someone about one of the other programmes. So when those come round, we'll be making sure we're getting one off of everyone before they leave the room today. And that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosie. We're very, very fortunate to have the City Council's support in terms of the skills landscape, and I don't think like any other time there's been so many initiatives in terms of supporting skills of the future. And I know Rosie will be inundated on that email, because one of the challenges with us all trying to do what we do is it does become quite complex, but I know Rosie's on hand really in terms of supporting you to unravel how you can use all of those initiatives to support your business. Next, we're going to talk about degree apprenticeships. Still relatively young. 2017, we saw the advent of degree apprenticeships. Exeter, in that period, has become the fastest growing city in the country in terms of apprenticeship recruitment from level 2 to level 7, and the work that Exeter University has done has been a key part of that success. So I'd like to welcome Tor Walton, Partnership for Corporate Engagement at Exeter University. Tor.
Hi, I'm Tor Walton, as Mike kindly said, University of Exeter. My role focuses on degree apprenticeships, but I'm going to talk to you about apprenticeships and also a couple of other things the university can support you with. So a whistle-stop tour of these areas. So as Rosie kindly mentioned before, internships and what our degree graduates can do for you, and then also degree apprenticeships and how they can support your business. So first of all, I'd like to look at briefly what motivates your talent. So we're all aware that we generally split our population into generations. So if you want to take a closer look at this graphic, you can find it at www.shrm.org. But briefly, it states that baby boomers generally getting towards the end of their careers now, focusing on prestigious job titles, parking spaces, and large offices. Then Generation X, motivated generally more by recognition and seniority of roles and flexible schedules, sorry. And then Generation Y, commonly more known as millennials, again focusing on flexible schedules, but also welcoming continuous learning, mentoring, and feedback. And then Generation Z, so our current school leaver generation, are motivated by meaningful feedback and work that gives them responsibility from day one. So really looking for impact in their organisation. So how can you invite this generation to come and work for you when they're coming out of full-time education and often have very little real-world experience? So here are our options. How can we support you to attract them? So, as Rosie kindly mentioned, student recruitment, you can recruit our graduates, and then degree apprenticeships, which are a great opportunity for your current workforce and also to attract new entrants into your organisation. So, to recruit our graduates, we have a couple of different options. So, we can advertise any role within the university free of charge, and then we also have these 2 internship schemes. So, a brief canter through. Graduate business partners. So these are current Exeter graduates. They're enthusiastic to start their careers and make a difference in your organisation. They're going to bring a fresh set of eyes and their up-to-date learning. We do ask that our graduates are paid a minimum of approximately 19,000, but do consider your sector. In the Southwest, on average, graduates are paid between 19 and 22,000. Then we also have student business partners. These are current students on programs with us that will come into your organisation part-time. They're really ambitious and looking to kickstart their careers, and it's a great opportunity for you to indoctrinate them at this stage. So if you would like any more information on this, please contact Jo. She is in the room, so she's available for those of you who are here today, and if not, please do send her an email. Okay. So, degree apprenticeship, subject close to my heart, and Mike's, I'm sure. What are they? So, government-funded training for employees in your organisation. They're level 6 and level 7, so level 6 undergraduate, level 7 master's programmes. You give apprentices 20% of their contracted hours to complete the programme. They're employed for you during that time. This is called off the job, and I'm going to refer back to it later because it is quite important. Degree apprenticeships, similar to lower level apprenticeships, are controlled by standards. So these are created by the Institute for Apprenticeships in consultation with business. And they cover the skills and knowledge and behaviours required for any given role. They also set a funding band, so they give you a ballpark figure for what you can expect that training to cost. So apprenticeships at degree level can either be integrated or have an endpoint assessment. Integrated means that the degree and the apprenticeship are all covered by the same learning outcomes at the same time. Whereas endpoint assessment means that an external body is going to come in and review the learning outcomes the apprentice has gone through during their time on the programme and then certify that they have achieved the apprenticeship standard. So how are they funded? Government funding. This all gets everyone excited generally. So all organisations with a payroll over 3 million will pay 0.5% of their payroll into a digital account. They've got 2 years to spend that money on apprenticeships. If you don't, it gets absorbed by the Treasury. If you're an organisation that doesn't pay the apprenticeship levy, there's a great opportunity for you now. So from January 2020, the government released digital accounts for non-levy paying organisations. They enable you to mark funding to use on apprenticeships within a 6-month period of time. And you then pay 5% of the cost of that apprenticeship, and the government will top up 95%. At the moment, there's no requirement ever to pay that back. I expect in future that might change, but right now, that's 95% funding free of charge. Great, so how much do they cost? Well, this really ranges from provider to provider. As I mentioned before, the standard gives you a baseline to work to, which is between 18 to 27,000. They may cost a little more, they may cost a little less. It's all up for negotiation with your education provider. So who are they for? Everyone, so long as they've got Maths and English GCSE. So they're a great opportunity for you to attract and upskill your current talent, as well as bring in this Generation Z as they start coming into the workforce. There's no upper age limit on apprenticeships. If you can find a standard that fits the role, they're available to everyone. The only one prior qualification that the Institute for Apprenticeships fixes is Maths and English GCSE, and they don't mind whether you've got a PhD in astrophysics. You still need to prove that you have Maths and English at GCSE. So this is standard across all apprenticeships once we get above level 4. While this is the only prerequisite, individual providers may put on various different requirements. So tariffs for A-level, previous degrees for postgrad. It's entirely up to that organisation. Generally, any tariffs that are applied are more flexible for those already in the workplace. But again, it's something to discuss with your individual provider. So how can you tap degree apprenticeships for your organisation? Well, every provider does take a different standpoint on this, but essentially, as long as you satisfy the standard, then everything else is up for discussion. So you can look at the delivery, so either block face-to-face learning, blended, which is block with an academic team and then online, or 100% online. You can either have coursework or exam assessment, and you can have face-to-face sessions in your location or your provider's location. You can have a closed cohort of only your employees, or a mixed cohort with apprentices across different sectors. It really is up to you and your chosen provider, so do shop around. And what's the catch? There isn't one, but there are some things to consider. Every provider does take an individual approach to apprenticeships, so have a look at the delivery method, have a look at the content, and make sure it really fits for your business need. If you decide to go down the co-design route rather than the off-the-shelf, this can take quite a lot of time. Not only are you going to deep dive into the content of that apprenticeship, you're also going to have to potentially have time for the provider to gear up with staffing, space, online delivery, etc. So 20% off the job. I did mention it before, it's very important. It's a government requirement and the funding hangs on the 20% off the job. So that is that you effectively give apprentices 1 day a week while employed by you to carry out their apprenticeship. It doesn't always cut as 1 day a week. For example, our Digital Technology Solutions program is 5 days block every couple of months. Others are much more flexible in that you can pick it up and put it down online at any point and gaps in the diary during the week. The key thing to remember is if you don't enable the time, not only will you have very stressed apprentices, but as it's a government requirement, your funding will also be at risk. This rolls on from 20% off the job, really. Managers need to understand the impact of that person being out of their organisation for a day a week. But they also need to be aware that they're very much the enabler for the apprentice. An apprenticeship is learning and application of that learning. And the manager or supervisor is the key person to enable that apprentice access so they can apply their learning practically. And then full-time. Full-time education, in effect, with full-time work and part-time education. It's really not an easy road. It's a degree-level qualification while you're holding down a full-time job. So this is what the University of Exeter offers at present from a degree apprenticeship. We have 4 undergrad programs and 2 postgrads. For your sector, I would suggest Digital Technology Solutions, which is the level 6 degree level, and then there's an MSc in Data Science and the Senior Leader MBA. If you'd like any more information around degree apprenticeships at the University of Exeter, or you have questions around levy, non-levy, please do drop us a line to this email address. We're more than happy to answer questions, even if it's not related to our programs. And then I was also asked to give you a what for, a why. So these are my final thoughts. Can you use degree apprenticeships as part of your retention strategy for your current team? And how are you going to attract that ambitious Generation Z who want to know their work has impact but bring very little real-world experience when they arrive in your organisation? Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Do you want to just stay here? I think we'll do Q&As. Tor, thank you. A very complex subject, very well explained there. It's without doubt the only show in town in terms of government investment in business training at this point in time, and a 95% contribution for non-levy payers is very welcome. So it's a boom time in terms of interest. Thank you. Rosie, if you could just join us as well. We're going to enter into some Q&As now. We're going to use the second microphone so that the live broadcast can pick up those questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone over.
Hi, Tom Langton-Davis, Minerva Lifelong Learning. I was told by a senior trustee at another further education college that soft and adaptive skills were very high on the list, and it seems to be a flavour of the month, but I'm not sure to the extent to which it's actually being systematically thought through in apprenticeships. Do you have any views on that?
Do you want to go for that one? Do you want me to go for that one? Compare steps in to answer the question. It's really interesting. So we're in an era now of where Programs are designed solely by employers. So the old days of academia beavering away, producing a standard for an apprenticeship has now gone. That's really, really encouraging. It's creating programs that are at the heart of your business and are well thought through by a minimum of 6 employers to create those programs. In terms of the point you raise, we're now in an era of what we call knowledge, skills and behaviours. So knowledge is traditional part of the apprenticeships. Skills was a traditional part of the apprenticeships. People would come and see you in the workplace to see that role. Behaviours is the new aspect. So employers are shaping what they want in terms of what an apprentice should be. You can't now pass an apprenticeship without the right set of behaviours. So in terms of how that's going to evolve, you will find that there will be equal prominence to those 3 themes moving forward. All of this is still relatively new. So we're 2 years into those reforms. Apprenticeships can be 2, 3, 4 years long. So you should see a growing momentum in terms of how those behaviours will integrate into those programmes. But the simple answer is you will not be able to pass an apprenticeship if your behaviours aren't as are expected by the employer. Anything you want to add? Are you sure? Next question.
Thanks very much. Piers Caulfield, Dashboard. I was curious, is there a particular season for the graduate apprenticeship scheme? Is there a particular time of year which is optimal?
With most, from a graduate perspective, generally, yes, they are starting to think about sort of being in the workplace by October, November. So really, from a recruitment perspective, you want to be looking at this sort of time of year. We're moving into the time of year now where we're starting to look to recruit those business partners. Similarly, for the student business partners, so the ones actually in the workplace, again, probably now moving towards summertime is the time to start thinking about them coming into your organisation. We do have postgraduates who finish much later in the year, so they're potentially then starting to look at their roles at this sort of time of year. So again, then it's advertising probably before Christmas.
And I think apprenticeships as a whole, certainly in our region, we've moved away from single starts in September. There's a recognition that the business need doesn't coincide with an academic year, and it's impossible to plan that all of your starts need to start in that August and September period. So probably the single biggest factor in terms of the growth around apprenticeships in Exeter in terms of 2 to 6s has simply been the basis of an always-on mentality. We recognise that when there is a need and it can be filled by an apprentice, we have a job to fulfil that. So the Exeter College model and a lot of the work by independent training providers is on 12 months of the year. And we work flexibly to ensure that actually we can fulfil those needs. So that's a real positive movement forward, really. Any other questions in the middle there?
Hi, probably more a question for Rosie, but possibly everybody. I'm Mickey from Boomerang, but that's not really relevant. Though my son is at school in East Devon, which is only Broadclyst, which is only 7 miles outside of Exeter. Not really sure where the airport lies in terms of whether it's East Devon or whether it's Exeter or what. Is there any way to that you're looking at joined up thinking between the different, I don't know what you call it, not councils or whatever areas, because otherwise you're sort of like making it Exeter, and then if you live outside it's just tough.
So a couple of questions in there, I think. Just the first one, in terms of where's the airport, where does that sit? So the airport's technically in East Devon, so the boundary, take the M5 as the boundary, so we're just inside the city here. But actually, you know, the recognition from the Exeter perspective of how important our surrounding district council areas are, and the people that live in those areas and work in those areas. So, you know, we're not an island floating along in isolation, because, you know, we have net inflow of 30,000 people into the city every day to come and work in those jobs, and about 10,000 going out of the city to work elsewhere. So, you know, from a, I guess we would term it functioning economic market area, you know, working with East Devon, with Mid Devon, and with our colleagues in Teignbridge, where people will travel from Newton Abbot, even up from Torbay, example standing here, to come and work in the city. It's really important that we do make sure that we are working on what that looks like. Part of the reason that we invest and work with the Careers Hub is not just to support the young people in the city, but to make sure that what Exeter has to offer is also being shared across other education across the region as well. So, you know, recognising that we've got great opportunities and that people, whilst wanting flexible and great opportunities, will travel for those. So very much so. I sort of tend to think anyway when I'm working with schools that both Clisfell and Broadclist and Cranbrook, you know, really important in terms of engaging because of their proximity to the city, ease of access, and where those young people are probably going to look for education and employment opportunities in the future. Does that answer the question? Okay.
Any other questions? I think if I just follow on from Rosie's answer, in terms of the offer, we sit obviously central to Exeter, but it's absolutely an offer without geographical boundary. So our 950 business network, which stems now from Penzance to the north of England through our work with EDF, only 220 of those businesses are Exeter based. So in terms of future career opportunities, it's Greater Exeter is absolutely the focus. And I'm fortunate enough to sit on a number of the groups and committees that service those areas. And the conversation doesn't really turn into an Exeter-centric one. It's a much wider scope and significant focus on opportunities for all. And some interesting work being done around the challenges of rurality and the support that the transport network will give us to ensure actually those opportunities are open for all. So there's a real broad-minded approach in terms of bringing that together. So hopefully we'll see the success of your child in the future. Okay, sorry, any other questions before we move on to the next session? One at the back.
Apologies for asking a second question, but I've got a financial question. So if it's funded between the non-levy businesses and government, basically at a 20-to-1 ratio, and you create a regular funding stream out of the business and then apply for the balance from the government, do you have to accrue money within the business before you then go after the graduate apprenticeship program, or can you do it in parallel?
So essentially, the government has provided a pot of money, and when you go onto the digital account as a non-levy payer, you mark funding that you want to use. You then will be invoiced by your provider for the 5%. So I suppose if you've got an L&D, a training budget already, and you're accruing funds in that personally, then yes. Otherwise, if you're happy just to respond to an invoice for, let's say, for example, an MBA at 18,000, so a £900 invoice, then there is no requirement to stockpile as such.
And just a bit more on the financial aspect of it. 2 years ago, the invoice you would have seen there would have been £9,000. There was a 50% contribution for learners aged 19 or more. So you can really see the government's agenda in terms of utilising apprenticeships to support workforce development. And as I say, the 5% contribution is at the bare minimum that they want to push out there, because they just want to encourage that take-up of apprentices through SMEs and make sure that levy payers utilise that money as well. So very interesting times ahead. Good. Any other questions? No? Brilliant. Thank you, Tors. Thank you, Rosie. On to some work. We're going to have a look now at our 10-minute break activity, group discussions and ideas. So within your tables, we're going to get your ideas utilising the post-it notes on two key subjects. One, how can businesses support the talent of the future? So Rosie's given us a feel in terms of some of the initiatives that are running. They, without doubt, rely on you all in terms of support to make some of those happen. So I'd be very, very keen to get your feel for how you can support those. And the second one, how do we keep talent in the region? And again, in the 5 years I've been working in Exeter, that's been a really interesting evolution. And as I say, with some of the initiatives that Tor's spoken about, there are now potential opportunities in place to keep that retention in place. So we're going to give you 10 minutes to do those, and then we'll come around and we'll collect the results of those, collate those, and then feed those back. Thank you very much. Okay. Absolutely lovely buzz in the room, lots of conversation around those key elements. And as I say, we'll come round and we'll collect all of those post-it notes from you so that we can draw together your ideas moving forward. Brilliant, thank you. On with the next element of it. Can I just remind you, here are our social media points of reference. Please can you ensure that we share that far and wide today. This is an absolutely brilliant event and we want to know, let the people of Exeter and beyond know what they're missing. I'd like to introduce Stephen Mariadis. Stephen I've worked with now for approximately 4 years, instrumental in the growth of our work around digital and has picked up a great opportunity moving forward in terms of the Institute of Technology, where he's now picked up the role of CEO. So I'd like to hand you over to Stephen, and I'll disappear off and do some technical stuff to help you out.
I'm sure you'll do us proud, Mike. Thank you. Morning, welcome. As Mike so kindly introduced me, what he didn't say is I'm going to disrupt things a little bit and watch the techie guys at the back start to sweat. What I'd like to do is become a little bit more interactive with what's going on. So I'd like to hear your questions. And what we have is an opportunity. There's an online page. It's called Padlet. You can see the website at the top there. So it's padlet.com/SWIOT/overview. And what you can do there is post up questions or thoughts that we can come back to at the end and I can talk about and take what you really want to get from the information about the Institute of Technology. Just to check whether the technology works, I'm just going to start with a quick quiz question. So I've been looking forward to this day for 2.5 years now. Once in a while, something happens that changes everything, a revolutionary product. Now I would love to say that is the Institute of Technology. And I will say that's the Institute of Technology because we are talking about a revolutionary product. But those are not my words. I've borrowed them from somebody for a groundbreaking change in our technological history. The question is, who said, once in a while, something revolutionary comes along that changes everything? For those that are connected, if you'd like to post it up there, what we'll do is we'll come back to that and see who's got it right. And if I can ask Mike to do an Alt-Tab for me. You don't have to answer the question if it's too tricky. Feel free to make up your own questions that we'll come back to later on. Thank you. So, the South West Institute of Technology. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, a little bit of history about where it's come from. The UK, as you're probably all aware, has a pretty standard route through its education. As you've heard this morning, level 2 qualifications, also known as GCSEs, with some others there or thereabouts, would normally follow to A-levels or BTEC qualifications at level 3 when you're 16 to 18. And then if you're academically minded, you'd go on and do a bachelor's degree, a level 6 qualification. The problem in the UK and in the rest of the world is that not everybody wants to do the academic level 6 degree qualification. And particularly in technical education, it's much more about what you can do, not what you can write down on an exam paper. Germany and Holland both have some great technical education frameworks in place. And one of the key things behind that is that they treat technical education with the same prestige, the same esteem as they do an academic route. And that's not something we've been great as a country so far. So last year, there was a review published. It was called the Auger Review. It said, how should we deal with post-18 education, particularly focusing on technical education? What's the best route to deal with this and solve this problem? How do we deal with the missing middle, as it's affectionately been called, those that get to level 3 and stop, or those that get to level 6? How do we fix that gap? And what the Auger Review said was, well, we have some great institutions in the country. We have FE colleges that are close to businesses, that deal with technical skills on a day-in, day-out basis. We have some great universities. And we have some employers that are chomping at the bit to help shape qualifications. They want to tell education providers what skills are required and what should be done to fix this problem. So the government said, let's create some institutes to sort this out. Let's collaborate between FE colleges, universities and employers to look at level 4 and above in technical education. So they put out a bid process. I won't bore you with the 2 years of hard work and draft we had to go through, but the outcome of that was that there were 11/12 institutes of technology created in the UK. These institutes are on the list. We are, in the southwest, part of wave 1 of these institutes. We are, in fact, further ahead than any of the other institutes on this page. And I'll quite happily say that if they were in the room as well. We were the second signed off in the country, and we are 4 or 5 months old now, and we are pushing the boundaries of what government should be doing. What you can tell from the map, though, is there's a few white areas there. The southeast and the northwest don't have an institute yet. So the government is going out with another £80 million to try and fill those gaps with another 8 institutes across the country. So in total, by the end of this year, we hope to have 20 institutes covering the UK with £250 million worth of backing from government. They're going to focus on level 4 and above. Now, what's actually happened with the picture is that there's a slight bias towards engineering technical education, but there is a strong digital field there as well. In the southwest, we're bucking that a little bit in that we are a little bit more slight majority into digital education at level 4 and above. And in the southwest, we also have probably the biggest partnership out of any of the institutes. So we as an institute are made up of the 2 universities in the region, Exeter and Plymouth, the 5, well, careful what I say now, the 5 best colleges, but let's leave it there. Exeter College, Petrock, Truro Penwith, Bridgewater City College, Plymouth, all outstanding colleges in the region that are delivering with businesses. But most importantly, we have 4 key anchor employers. So we are led by Oxygen House and Met Office, based in Exeter, Babcock, based down in Plymouth, and TDK, based up in Ilfracombe. And they are leading the 7 educational institutes in what we should be delivering. And it's closely linked into the LEPs, so we're heavily supported by Heart of the Southwest and Cornwall and Isles of Scilly. So we've got a joined up view of having the single right view of qualifications at level 4 and above. We got a lot of money from DfE, and we're going to use that money to produce and build, refurbish and equip state-of-the-art facilities across the region. So I'll come to Exeter last because it's probably the closest to heart. But Bridgewater and Taunton, I was in the college just yesterday, have opened a Centre of Excellence for Welding. One of our partners up in Hinckley with EDF, they need a lot of welding happening. So we're setting up what I would suggest is the best centre for learning welding in the country. In Plymouth, we have some marine engineering facilities that we're going to rent down on Oceansgate, which is right next to the Tamar and the dockyards. Truro Penwith are building a £7 million building focusing on higher level digital and engineering skills. Petrock, £3 million into an engineering facility with the latest equipment. But closer to home, we have Exeter College is building a £10.5 million building on Hill Road. And if anybody's passed that recently, you'll see the hoarding is up. For a state-of-the-art digital and data centre focused on adult business education with facilities to match, labs, lecture theatres, etc. And on the University of Exeter campus, we're spending £3.7 million on a new extension to the computer science building, looking at artificial intelligence and data science. Using these facilities, we're going to be able to deliver some of the courses that you need as businesses. But there are some areas that we are leading, not just in the southwest, we're leading the UK picture. We are the only institute, we are the only area of the country that deals with marine engineering through Babcock, and if you ever have a chance to go see the dockyards, it's a very impressive setup. They never cease to let me know that there are 6 nuclear reactors sitting in the Tamar that need looking after and decommissioning. We have data. Exeter should be proud of its heritage and its ability within data science. And through the Met Office and Oxygen House, we're looking at world-class education within data and what skills are required for the future. How do we bring those skills through from school all the way through to master's degrees? Nuclear. It always surprises me how few people know that on our doorstep we have the biggest construction project in Europe happening, and that brings with it a lot of need for skills, not just in construction, but engineering, digital, and all the services that are required around that. And then in North Devon, we have a state-of-the-art facility with TDK that works with electronics manufacturing. Now, what these USPs bring with them is an ability to lead not just what we do locally, but also what the country should be looking at. And as an institute, we have a voice that's louder than the sum of our parts. The DFE sit up and listen when we say, well, actually, we need qualifications in nuclear that do this, this, and this. We need qualifications in data, and this is the way it should work. The facility in Exeter, so bringing it a bit closer to home, is going to look a little bit like this. It's going to be built over the next 12 months and should be open around about March next year. What we want that facility to be is somewhere that employers want to come. Not only do you want to send your staff to learn and train, but we want to make that a central focal point for employers to come, to be able to just sit in the cafe, have a chat, work, and get things done in the region. It's going to be a jewel in the crown for Exeter. And on the University of Exeter campus, likewise, we're going to have, I'm not quite sure actually what an artificial intelligence arena looks like. It does make me think of Robot Wars a little bit. Whether they're going to battle themselves or not, I don't know. But it will be a fantastic, unique national jewel again on the University of Exeter campus. Learners. We're starting with 1,000 learners this academic year. So between the institutes that we already have, courses that are running, they total about 1,000 learners, but we're looking to grow. We want to move to 2,500 learners studying mainly at level 4 and level 5 that make the difference for the economy in this region. 2,500 makes us one of the biggest institutes in the UK as well. So we will have a voice. The types of things that we're going to be training are on this list. The key thing to take away from this is that we have not only the full-time, part-time courses, be it the bachelor's, the master's degrees, be it the HNCs, the HNDs, the foundation degrees, the numerous different titles that I know are hugely complex and confusing, and we are also looking to help sort that out, but also the apprenticeship routes that you've heard about this morning. So we'll have degree apprenticeships, we'll have higher apprenticeships, which will be the level 4, level 5, and we'll also be looking at that foundation level, so level 3 apprenticeships, so the equivalent of A-level standards, what apprenticeships are required to build the skills so you can go through this progression route. Also part of our commitment is engineering. So we have a very similar picture in engineering. Full-time, part-time routes, apprenticeships, and we want all of these qualifications to stand side by side and work together. And where a qualification doesn't work, we're going to be in the right place to say, actually, we don't want that, we want something new. And then we want to roll that out nationally, and we want a clear picture that that's the right qualification. And that's a whistle-stop tour through the Institute of Technology. What I'd love to know is what you want to know about the Institute. So I'm happy to take, are we doing questions now? Do it at the end. We'll do it at the end. I'm happy to take questions on Padlet. So if you want to stack up some questions on Padlet, I'll be looking as we're going and preparing for the Q&A shortly. Please do use it, and also don't forget the quiz question that I started with at the start. If anybody gets that, it will be a bit of kudos. There's no prizes today, unfortunately. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. You can see another key piece in the jigsaw that this city is building in terms of supporting the future skills needs of all our businesses and great opportunities for young people moving forward. So thank you again for that. We are in the midpoint of National Apprenticeship Week, which is I have to say this, my favourite week of the year, although somewhat busy. We hosted yesterday the Institute for Apprenticeships, and they're very interested in the work that we're doing here in Exeter in terms of how we've become the fastest growing city for apprenticeships. They asked yesterday what they felt was the recipe for that success, and it's actually a really, really simple equation. It's down to two things. It's down to employers who have an appetite for supporting people into their business and giving them the training, and it's down to the exceptional talent that Exeter and the wider area nurtures in terms of the young people and those with the appetite to improve themselves. Other than that, we simply wouldn't be able to do our job, so we're blessed in terms of that provision. We've got two fantastic examples of employers and young people that want to do the right thing and do it well. So I'd like to introduce Piers Caulfield, the founder of Dashboard. They've been working around about 5 years, ambitious growth plans and a track record in terms of utilising apprenticeships and learning to grow their business. So Piers, come and join us at the front. You're there.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. So, good morning, and we're delighted to have the opportunity to talk to you about our apprenticeship programme. I noted a couple of things that I'll talk about over the next few minutes, but essentially Dashboard is, for the sake of the avoidance of confusion, there's the Institute of Technology, IoT, and there's also the Internet of Things. Well, we're the latter, so we're an industrial IoT specialist. So we're all about industrial digitization, and we're specialists in infrastructure. Monitoring is really what we cut our teeth on. So we've been around for 5 years. We're based on the Exeter Science Park, and we're now coming off the back of several years of intensive research and development and leading into our full commercialization. So we're expecting 2020 and beyond to be a period of very rapid acceleration and expansion. So as a business, we are the point of convergence between advanced engineering and agile technology. So we're designing embedded, engineered technology and data acquisition systems for the world's most challenging environments, which involves full ruggedization, energy harvesting, and so on and so forth, communication, electronic security, and then all the way into the platform, hyperscaling cloud, data analysis and visualization. So that's what we do. Now, we have a video which, so rather than listen to me drone on, we're here to talk about our apprenticeship program, and 3 of our recent apprentices are in this video, so it's much better to have you listen to them speak for themselves.
The definition of a company is a group of individuals who come together to achieve a common goal or vision. But how many organisations embody this aspiration?
I think there has been an increasing recognition in the last few years and a great shift in people's thinking about how important the workplace is, and it takes up vast quantities of our life. And I think people have become increasingly aware that their working environment is pivotal into the way that they feel about the rest of their life. If they're spending vast quantities of time at work, it needs to be an environment that they feel valued and nurtured and supported.
What made me want to work for Dashboard was that they offered the opportunity to actually allow me to use my skill set to the fullest, not just in statistics and computers, but in software analysis, qualitative
life that impact them, we have some idea of what that situation might be.
Adequate pay is essential, but for many, recognition, personal growth, specialisation career prospects, respect, and an environment in which curiosity and initiative are both encouraged and celebrated are core to individuals flourishing in their chosen career path.
The reason I wanted to work at Dashboard was I was looking for an opportunity to progress. Dashboard was able to offer me that and also give me a job in a field of engineering, which was what I was interested and passionate about, and it gave me the opportunity to progress and actually work towards a level 4 software developer apprenticeship, which is what I'd been looking for.
All organisations lay claim to their biggest asset being their people, but people are not an asset. They choose to invest their energy, imagination and emotion into a role, but are not bound by any commitment beyond their love of what they do and their perceived choices.
Yeah, I think that the opportunity within Dashboard is limitless in a way that if I said I wanted to go and speak to more clients and be more customer based, but also bring that back to the team and develop that in a way that they understand it and know how to put that into a working product. I think that I could do that, and I think they'd fully support me in saying, okay, we maybe need to branch out into that, and they'll listen to what I have to say as an employee, a general employee, and I think that's really valuable that even top people like the directors would actually listen to me, and they value my input. They wouldn't just disregard me just because I'm an employee. And I think the progression side of things for myself is if I wanted to be a manager, they'd fully support me and they'd ease me into doing things. It may take years, it may take months, but if the opportunity arose, I think they support me in bit by saying, okay, maybe take on this little bit of responsibility, maybe take on this bit, and eventually I could see myself hopefully running a team here.
I'm delighted to say that Carenza nailed her first major exam in level 4 programming. So we heard that yesterday, and I was a very poor academic student. So actually, if I had my time over again, I think I'd become an apprentice. So I completely support the program. The fascinating stuff which is going on with the Institute of Technology across the southwest, but particularly here in Exeter, is incredibly relevant for what we do, advanced engineering and all of the technology stuff, and beyond that, the data science with the University of Exeter. So we are completely behind that, and we were one of the first industrial partners or supporters of the Institute at the college, but also with the university. So the apprenticeship program is all about bringing bright, enthusiastic, curious people into our business, and then putting them into blended cross-functional teams with people that are in the midpoint of their career, as well as older veterans or grey hairs who have accumulated rather more miles and then consequently have quite a lot of value to import and impart. So it's really about creating a holistic culture and an approach in the business which is very much about supporting personal growth and development. So now the fascinating thing for us with the apprenticeship program is that you have a preconceived idea as to who an apprentice is, but actually we have 3 individuals. They are all graduates. So we have a graduate, a postgraduate, and Robin has a double master's in behavioural science. So they're all very talented individuals who have chosen to take a different path in their career, and therefore the apprenticeship program really offered them that. So Carenza is all about technical development. Robin is we use behavioural science and behavioural anthropology in terms of designing user engagement. So it's all about user interface and user experience. Design as we storyboard particular user interface and visualization. And Alex has been doing great work on some of our technical development projects, particularly on an R&D project called WindTwin, which was cited as R&D Programme of the Year, which is about predictive analytics on wind turbines, which we've just completed, and we're now moving forward into the next phase. So that's who we are, that's what we do, that's what our commitment is. We have very, very strong working relationship with both the University of Exeter and the college, and it is absolutely central. And when people from around the world say, why are you based in Exeter? Stability is a key element in terms of how we build and expand the business. But the other element is that Exeter is a globally recognised centre of excellence in data science, and the absolute beating heart of what we do is all around cutting-edge data analysis, and which is about machine learning and pattern recognition. And so we are absolutely exactly where we should be. And our collaboration network is both Southwest, national, and indeed international. So we are very keen to talk to other engineering and technology businesses with whom we might collaborate, and look forward to taking on more people. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Piers. Great video, and a really interesting point there in terms of some of the misconceptions around what apprentices are. We've certainly seen in the last 5 years a shift from imagining that it's, you know, dirty trade areas that are the sole realm of apprentices into much more technical roles, and it's really interesting to see those three profiles of your apprentices, where they've come from and what they're now doing. So great opportunity to utilise apprenticeship programmes to grow your business. Our last speaker of today is Chrissy. Chrissy comes up from Spirant, which is a company based down in Torbay. It's not difficult across the patch to find inspirational young people who are doing a brilliant job of utilising training to work within the business community. So we're delighted that Chrissy, who sits firmly at the top of the tree, has come to join us today. So over to you.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello everyone, I'm Chrissy. I'd like to start off by giving you a little bit of background information about myself. I'm actually a student and I work part-time for Spirant Communications as their global STEM coordinator. So to give you a little bit of background about who we are, we are a global telecommunications company. We operate all across Europe, North America and Asia. So we've actually got 22 different business units, but the one we're going to be focusing on today is our positioning technology unit, which is based down in Paignton, just in Devon. We also cover cloud and IP, service assurance, wireless technology and security. We're not the biggest company, we've only got sort of 1,400 employees across the 22 different business units, and at the Paignton one we've got about 100. So just to talk to you a little bit about our placements and the interns. So every year at Spirant we host between 2 and 4 placement or interns. I was one of them for 2 years in a row. Primarily based in the engineering department, so in software, hardware, firmware and support services. Other departments including HR, finance and marketing have also hosted interns. The typical stay is sort of 6 months for interns and then 12 months for placement students. The apprentices that we've taken on, so since 2014 we've employed 6 apprentices in engineering, HR and IT and procurement. Each apprentice will stay either 12 to 36 months whilst they gain their qualification, and every apprentice we have, we offer them a place to stay with us after. In addition to that, we've also got, I think it's 7 of our engineers at the moment who are working towards apprenticeships as well, whilst they've already got their degrees. Okay, so a lot of what we like to do as well at Spirent is work experience. So we host this every year over a space of sort of 2 to 3 weeks. And we have 6 to 12 students per year. So the students will come in, they'll spend the week at the business unit with 2 or 3 members of our staff, and they'll actually get the opportunity, as you can see down here in the photos, to use all of the Spirent equipment. The engineers will spend about a couple of weeks going through and planning a big project for them to undertake. So they spend quite a lot of time really putting the effort into that. And it's really great, as you can see here, they really get the proper in-industry experience. So how does that benefit us? So it's a growing talent pipeline for us through building the relationships with local schools, colleges and universities. So we've got a couple of examples. We've got a good relationship with Turson Grammar, Inspires College, Plymouth University, Bath University, Warwick University. I could go on. There's quite a lot of them. Brand awareness. I mean, we are quite a big tech company that's in the suburbs of Small Paynton in an industrial estate. No one knows who we are. Literally no one. So increasing our brand awareness by hosting these students is something we really good to do. And then, of course, new talent and fresh ideas. If you're having academics come in to work with the business unit with us, they're going to bring new ideas and a new perspective to our products and development of our ideas. Okay. So as I mentioned to you guys earlier, I am the Global STEM Coordinator for Spirent. So just to give you a little bit of background about the programme. So we sort of stole the idea from STEM UK and Sam people at the back there, and we've created our own internal STEM Ambassador programme. So we originally started off with 18 ambassadors in our PT unit in the UK. Now, my job was to expand to each one of our different business units and get loads more employees involved. So we've now got 60 plus ambassadors and growing, luckily. And we have 2 groups, so we're split up into 2. So our first team supports students sort of around the ages from 5 to end of secondary school. And we do loads of stuff with them. So we go to careers fairs, science fairs like the Big Bang. We do mentoring with them, and we do other activities like, I don't know if anyone's heard of the MAID project. This is an ongoing thing that happens every year where you work with a school to build a product, and it's a competition. So that's the first part of what we do. And then the second part, which is more related to sort of the apprentice kind of age, that we're really trying to push in 2020 is the work of KTPs and project-based work with universities. So what we do here is I'll send out some marketing documents to sort of internally recruit our employees, and then we'll match them up with either local universities or universities with a similar idea, and they'll work part-time at our business unit and then part-time at university on the projects that we create with them. So what does that bring for us? So supporting the younger students, that increases Spirent's awareness again. Obviously, us being down in Paynton, we need more brand awareness and people knowing about us. It increases our support in local communities. Going out and showing your support with local schools and stuff is always beneficial. Of course, again, you build the relationships with local schools and colleges, and it increases awareness of career path opportunities for the younger students, because quite a lot of the jobs in engineering and stuff that go on sort of in Spirent, people don't even know exist. These technologies don't even exist yet. And then, of course, supporting the graduate/postgraduate students. So if you're working with students that are in university, you get access to the latest academic research in the field and technological equipment when they're working on the project within university. You also get opportunities to work with the newest talent and the newest academics coming out with the fresh ideas, and recruitment opportunities. So the majority of the time after these programs and projects, the students are offered to be able to come back and stay with us full time. But not yet. Thank you.
You're going to stay up. So we're just going to move on to the last Q&A session. So if Steve and Piers could just join us up at the front. We're going to tab into Steve's... Do you want to do that now? Yeah. Oh, there you go. 3 right answers. We're blessed. Fantastic. Good. Fantastic. Do you guys want to come over this side and we can share a mic? So if there are questions within the audience, as previously, raise your hand. We'll bring a microphone over and we'll select your appropriate presenter to answer your question.
Hi, John Lewis of Neat Strategy. I was going to ask about the Institute of Technology and the location of your sites, which seem to be scattered around the coast. I suppose Exeter slightly inland. But I'm recalling a head of a school in Sidmouth some years ago told me his biggest problem was that half his catchment area was in the sea. And I wondered whether you might have had some locations inland.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the bid process we did with DFE. A number of the institutes around the country have gone with a single centre where everything is based and everybody travels to that. But we have huge travel to learn and travel to work issues. So when we came together as the South West, we were very conscious that we wanted to put as much as possible close to the main centres. So we split the money around the different facilities. When we were doing the bid process, the DFE team actually said, why don't you go for a single building in the middle? And we all kind of looked at each other and looked at the map and thought, well, actually that's going to end up somewhere near Princeton, I think, and might be a bit of a problem. So it's something we wanted to do. A single centre has lots of advantages. It had lots of advantages, but I think amongst the partners, we're breaking ground now in a collaborative way. Giving each of the partners that were involved their piece of it was really important. But one thing going forward for the Institute is this is going to be a vehicle that's going to attract more funding and more bids opportunities for what comes in the future. And as part of that, we'll certainly look to build on that and say, okay, what do we need, be it centrally or be in other locations that will fit the needs of the region.
Morning, Richard Carpenter, Enterprise Assist. I think it's a question for you, Mike. Is the 20% off-the-job training a barrier for employers? And if it is it something you've got a programme for?
I'm going to split the answer. So if I give you the educational perspective first, and then we'll bring an employer view in on it. Statistically, when you look at what barriers are to engagement with apprentices, 20% seems to come up as the most regular area of concern for employers. And I think the perception is that they're about to lose somebody for 1 day per week. Don't be fooled by the terminology of 20% off the job. It doesn't mean necessarily that 50 weeks of the year or 48 weeks of the year you won't see that individual. 20% off the job simply measures how much investment you are making in that apprentice. So how much time are you as a business putting into that apprentice? Yes, the majority of that will be in a college-based environment, but it's also the work you do around mentoring. It's also the work that you do with product manufacturers who are coming in to show you how things work. It's also the work that you do around induction of those individuals. So a forward-thinking organisation working with a good quality provider shouldn't actually find those as a significant challenge. And certainly you can see once it's explained, actually it becomes less of a conundrum for them to sort out. But in terms of the employer perspective on 20% off the job, Piers, I'd welcome your view on that.
Funnily enough, we were discussing this before we started. So it's really very simple for us. So in one sense, the time spent at college brings back a wealth of learning and training. So effectively, somebody else is training a member of our team, but that has significant value for us. So that's not 20% of the time that they're not sitting there, because of course they are accumulating contacts and knowledge and insight. The second thing is that in practical terms, these are individuals at any stage in their career who are coming to the organisation through the apprenticeship programme, and we pay our apprentices quite well, more or less at the top end of what the pay scales generally are. But nevertheless, those individuals certainly in our graduates, would all be coming in at 30,000, 32,000, 34,000, and we're not paying them that money because they're on an apprenticeship program, and therefore the discount that we receive in terms of then going through the loan program is significantly greater in terms of its monetary value than the amount of time that we give them off, and it's all part of this learning program and personal growth and development, which again, absolutely fundamental to our business is the longevity, is the elimination or minimization of any churn in our team, and therefore the value that we deliver to them in terms of supporting them through their college experience hopefully engenders loyalty and makes it more likely that they will stay with us. So there's a massive dividend for us on that score as well. So.
Brilliant, thank you. It's obvious to me we do produce some hot talent, and occasionally I talk to business owners who've invested a significant amount of time in their apprentice. It's come to an end, they're desperate to keep them, but it's amazing the appetite across the city and beyond to pick up these apprentices who are so culturally aware of the work that they're doing and a great asset to any business. We're going to kick into the question that's up on the board there, Steve. Are there plans to offer professional training and certification from Microsoft, Cisco and other key industries within the new digital and data hub?
The short, easy answer to that is yes. The slightly more positive note is picking up on what Piers was saying about some of his apprentices. These qualifications are also integral to the apprenticeships, and Corenza passed her exam just this week, which was a Microsoft Software Development Certified exam. So they are integral. What's been really pleasing since the start of the Institute is the companies like Microsoft, Cisco, Oracle, they're knocking on the door now. They see institutes as the way to deliver their qualifications and have their say on what skills people come out with. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, it's Ben Herbert, Bishop Fleming. I'm just interested to know kind of how many applications you had for it and how easy it was to find the right apprenticeships for the businesses.
I guess Stephen might correct me on this, but I think certainly when it came to us, we were looking through 15, maybe 20 applicants, but you guys had gone through a filtration process before it got to that. So, so how many did it start off as?
So for you guys, that was probably about half of what we saw come through. To be blunt, a lot of it will depend on whether the young people or the people applying have heard of the company. So a big brand name will be in the hundreds. And we have had others where if they don't know what the company is, and yes, it's a great opportunity to shout about the company, but they will be nearer the dozen kind of mark.
One other point I was going to make is that one of the things that surprised us was that when we spoke to Exeter College about the apprenticeship program, our expectation was that the apprentices candidates would be drawn from the southwest, but in actual fact it's national. So your net is cast very wide, and whilst we chose to take people who were already in some way connected with the local region, nevertheless, as we become better known as a business, I think we will probably be pulling people into the region.
And just to add to that, the generation that we're now working with are exceptionally savvy, and they don't need to be great mathematicians to weigh up a university education against an apprenticeship education and see what the difference is in outcome in terms of the bank balance. So like never before have we seen a flood of applicants who probably for 2 to 3 years prior to the application have thought university is that particular pathway for me. But ultimately, as you'll see from today's presentations, the pathways that you can follow now, fully funded by your employer whilst earning a wage, getting you to that same point potentially as university would, has suddenly become a bigger attraction. And as you say, you can see the healthy numbers that we're talking about in terms of applicants, and we've probably seen 3 to 4 times more applicants over an annual period than we would have sort of 2.5 years ago. So it's certainly a healthy route into business for those young people. Any other questions? No. Chrissy, I didn't want you standing here without being able to answer a question. As the right demographic for apprenticeships, what do you think employers can do to make themselves attractive for you to apply to a particular apprenticeship programme?
I suppose the extra support and things that you'd get within the programme, like the training. I don't know, I'm at uni. I chose that path. Yeah, probably the opportunity to be flexible about how much time you spend sort of working in college maybe and then working in the business unit. The extra support and training and things, and maybe the time that you'd spend doing the apprenticeship, because obviously it sort of lasts between 12 to 36 months. Maybe if that could be flexible as well.
And what about the money?
Well, yeah, it would be great not to be in 70k debt, wouldn't it?
Good answer. But we've done some studies around this, and Exeter sits very high up in terms of the average apprenticeship wage paid by employers. The reality is apprenticeships are exempt from national minimum wage. There is a minimum rate that you pay, but we find time and time again employers see the value of paying over and above that to recruit the right talent. And it does make a huge difference in terms of the quality of applicants that we work with. So worth bearing in mind when you're looking at the structures. And also employing the right age group gives you £1,000 thank you from the government to offset some of those extra costs. So worth doing your maths right when you look at those types of opportunities. Good. Any other questions? No, fantastic. I think we're there or thereabouts in terms of time. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for that. We're delighted to give you some insight into the next event, which will be the 18th of June at the Flybe Training Academy, probably likely to be called something else at that point in time. And we'll be looking at the 3 chapters of the space story. Intriguing, so we'll look forward to doing that. And finally, thank you all for attending. It's been a delight to host today's event. Rosie's waving something at me, which reminds me. So I'll repeat what Rosie said. Pledge cards for everybody before they go. That would be really, really appreciative. And I hope that you've had some insight into the challenge around talent recruitment across the region. So thank you all very much.